Hello, beans. Hello, hello.
Welcome back to another video. Today I'm playing like a horror visual novel named Tiny Bunny. So yeah, we're gonna do English, okay? And we're gonna do new game. Let's do this. I hope it's scary. I read good things about this game today. The wind clawed at my window all night long. It wandered the fields and howled like a hungry beast. An endless song, weaved from all sorts of voices, shrill, gentle, sneery, twined in the air. They were shouting and laughing, and arguing about something. Someone was running through the snow while casting long shadows that would occasionally creep close to my bed. Our house had a mind of its own, the creaky old mind of a building that had seen a lot in its day and was seemingly trying to share its wisdom with the inhabitants. The lonely house faced the forest, and the dark green thicket gazed back with its hollow eyes, rustling, whizzing, swaying back and forth. One could come out and stand at the edge of the forest to reassure themselves. There was nobody behind the crooked trees. Fuzzy silhouettes swaying in the wind couldn't possibly do any harm. It's just a play of light and shadow. Just a play. I knew it was just my imagination. I was already 12 after all. Still. Episode 1. The Owl Will Arrive. I hear someone making coffee or tea. Do I have to click? Oh, I have to, okay.
Убери книгу немедленно.
Okay. Hey, put away your book.
Сколько раз говорила, не читай за столом, вредно. Сидишь, сутулился весь.
How many times have I told you not to read at the table? It's bad for your health. Look at how slouched you are. What? Reading at the table is bad for your health? I don't think so, Mom. I didn't protest and put the book about Conan the Barbarian aside. Nice. Nice. I was stuck on a line I couldn't understand after reading it 3 times anyway. Olia had already finished her breakfast and was munching on some cookies. She was so enthusiastic, she almost looked like your typical girl from commercials.
Пока не съешь, из-за стола не встанешь.
You're not going anywhere until you finish all of it! Nice. Good mothering. I, on the other hand, was still trying to drill a hole in the plate with my eyes, as if it would make the porridge disappear. Hazy anxiousness welled up inside, all because of the previous sleepless night, the black forest around our house, and the gloomy wind. The longer I waited, the colder the lumpy white substance became. It looked like a jellyfish from the Cousteau Odyssey. I love that show. Cousteau? I'm sorry if I butchered that. I wonder how horrifying the bottom of the ocean is. Pretty scary, I imagine. Or how cold the black forest is at night. The spoon fell out of my hand. Mom showered me with a cold glare from her green eyes.
Что я говорила?
What did I just say?
Я достану.
I'll get it. I had 10 seconds to catch my breath before battling the nasty porridge once again. I felt around for the spoon. What is this carved on the side of the table, on the other side of the table? Karina. Huh, that's my mom's name. I guess she carved it out with something pointy when she was little. She sure was a rascal, damaging the furniture like that. She would scold me for a week if I did something similar though. Should I remind her about it? No, she's been in a bit of a bad mood lately. I imagined her being my age, sitting under the table. I wonder, was Mom afraid of the dark back then? Or the sounds coming from the attic? Or the thick forest? I imagine my grandma coming into my little mom's room, sitting at the edge of her bed where Olya sleeps nowadays, and saying this in her soft, smooth voice.
Тайга — особое место, дитятка.
Taiga is a special place, little girl.
Она к тебе
It's watching you
присматривается,
closely,
принюхивается,
sniffing you out,
словно хочет понять, что ты за зверь такой.
trying to discern what kind of beast you are.
Понравишься, в беде не бросит.
If you're a good sort, it won't abandon you in times of trouble. Sorry, I'm trying
А
my
будешь
best.
проказничать, схватит за бочок и утащит с собой под землю.
But if you're a bad apple, it'll grab you by the side and drag you under the ground.
Тут и дело с концом.
And that would be it. Grandma was caring. She never fought with anybody, never yelled, never swore. Those were the times without the maddening screams until late at night, without smashed dishes and mutual accusations. Our parents used to love each other back then. I remember listening in one of their conversations by chance. They were talking about Grandma getting prepared for a funeral. Oh, like, damn. Okay. She had already bought a casket. Damn, Grandma's preparing. And she called it her cute funeral box. It waited for its time in the closet, patiently. It was black, upholstered with meat-colored material on the inside. I saw it when my grandma was getting buried. The house didn't change since the time she was alive. Only all of the photos were gone. Glass-covered pictures with grey faces of my ancestors. They all had a dead but watchful look in their eyes. I crawled out from under the table. Olya was done with her cookies and was looking at my share like a sly woodland critter. I turned my gaze toward the frosted window. There were a lot of dark pines outside, but they didn't grab my attention. The pattern of frost formed a picture on the glass.
Оля, гляди, лиса!
Looks like a fox or a raccoon. Oh yeah, look, it's a fox.
Где?
Where? It looked almost like those optical illusion thingies they put on the back of student notebooks. A mixture of lines at first glance, but if you blur your vision a little bit and look under a certain angle.
Да не на улице, на стекле.
Not outside, on the window.
Смотри, вот нос, вот.
Look, here's the nose, and
Ну-ка,
here's...
доедай.
Hey, eat up.
Да, да, сейчас.
Yes, just a moment.
Я ничего не вижу.
I don't see anything.
Живо. Совсем
Hurry.
немного осталось.
Hurry up, there's not much time left.
А, вот. Но все равно не похоже.
Ah, there it is. But it still doesn't look like
А
one.
я говорю, похоже.
And I'm telling you it does.
Не-а.
That was cute. Nuh-uh.
Похоже.
It does.
Прекратите. Ну что за дети?
Stop it, these kids. I swear. Now I couldn't see the fox either. It disappeared. Went away. Only the frosty pattern, similar to stretched out nettle leaves, kept creeping up the glass. Oh, sup, Dad? How you doing? My dad entered the kitchen with long, measured steps. I want to have a beard like his when I grow up. Mom would always ask, jokingly, "Come on, shave it off, it stings." This was so long ago. Nowadays, rumbling doors and witty comebacks are an everyday occurrence. Olya always covers her ears whenever she hears something like, "What's the point in all this?" through the wall. "It's all for your sake," Dad would reply, "for the sake of our family." I always caught every sound in fear of hearing the most dreaded, the deadliest word that started with a D. D-I-V-O. I don't even want to finish it. Divorce. I see. Oh man, divorce sucks. It was scary to imagine that me and my little sister could be torn apart and taken into two different
Да
families.
что твоя лиса? Вот у меня на окне сова.
Anyway, your fox is nothing. I have an owl on my window.
Опять ты со своей совой.
You and your owl talk again.
Так ты же вчера мне верил.
You said you believed me just yesterday.
Никто ключи от машины не видел?
Has anybody seen my car keys?
Вроде оставлял на подоконнике.
I remember leaving them on the windowsill.
Вроде.
Right.
Вроде оставлял, вроде нет.
Maybe you did, and maybe not.
Вроде взрослый мужчина, отец двоих детей, а вроде...
You're a grown man, a father of two, and still...
Перестань, пожалуйста, Карина.
Karina, please, stop.
Дай мне спокойно собраться.
Just let me get ready in peace.
В корзине твои ключи, возле телефона.
Your keys are in the basket near the phone.
Огромное тебе человеческое спасибо.
Well, thank you very much.
Антон, ешь быстрее, а то как мученик сидишь.
Anton, stop making a martyr out of yourself and finish eating already.
А сова?
But the owl.
Не было там никакой совы.
There was no owl.
Была.
But there was one.
Глазюки огромные. Во, и светятся.
It had giant glowing eyes. Olya sprung up from the chair and placed her hands on her little face, imitating a pair of eyes with her fingers, the size of an apple each.
В прошлом году бабай в шкафу. Сейчас сова?
Last year you had Babai in your closet, and now this owl?
Но я же видела.
But I saw it. Olya shifted her gaze back and forth from Dad to Mom to me, but couldn't find any
А
support.
ты не думала подружиться с ней, нет?
Have you thought about befriending it?
Вымышленными мышами покормить, например?
You know, like feeding it with imaginary mice?
Не подначивай ребенка.
Don't bully our girl.
Просто мала еще. И спать одна боится.
She's just afraid to sleep alone because she's still little. Olya pouted her lips in rebellion and rushed into the hallway. The staircase that led to the second floor creaked. Mom gave Dad a strict look. Oh, that look in her eyes. It's so uncomfortable to be pinned under it. Dad just snorted in reply and left, ringing with the keys he just found. A minute had passed and the theme song from The Little Mermaid echoed through the house. It was stored on incredibly worn-out cassette tape, which Dad already had to glue together once. It's so easy to fix objects by gluing them back together, for example. But how do you fix a relationship? Mom moved to the living room and I was left alone, anxiously stealing glances at the window. Olya had trouble sleeping ever since we moved to this house. She would toss and turn or curl up into a ball under her basket. Sometimes she would jump up in the middle of the night and turn on the VCR. Cartoons helped to take her mind off all the trouble we had with the move and our parents. Oh, sweet Jesus. Woof. Okay. And then Olya said she saw that giant flying monster outside her window. She became obsessed with it. Our parents did everything in their power. They tried every little trick to get rid of those ridiculous fears. Olya refused to sleep alone and didn't believe that the owl was just one of her nightmares. After last night, I was unsure what to make of my sister's words, what to think of it myself. Can nightmares be infectious? I have goosebumps. That night, I couldn't get a wink of sleep and ended up thinking of what to expect from my new school. There were a couple days left before the beginning of a new term. My imagination drew long twisting hallways that led to a classroom full of kids, but all the students behind their desks were simply dark figures cut out using a template. Circular holes gaped in the middle of their faces, and pairs of eyes blinked inside those holes. It was as if some completely different creatures were looking at me from behind the flat, black silhouettes. Their curly glares, filled with icy sneers, made me shiver from head to toe. Will I survive here? Won't they gang up on me and beat me down, stomp on me with their bloodied shoes? The damn school can burn for all I care. I just wish for anything to happen to it. It doesn't really matter what. I didn't want to go there that badly. I didn't want to see people who are just itching to smack me on the head, trip me up, think up a new offensive name for me, worse than the previous one. I felt like the glasses I wore made me an outsider of some sort, of a monster. My gaze slid across the drawings hanging on the walls. I couldn't consider myself a great artist, but Oya begged me to hang them. Drawing was the only thing that made me happy as of late. The small circle of friends I had also enjoyed my paintings, and they promised to call me from time to time. Sometimes I imagine Mum picking up the phone and saying in a cold voice, "You've got the wrong number. You've got the wrong house, fool." Dr. Anton is not around. Anton is not around. I imagine my future classmates lying in their beds, just like me, listening to the howls of invisible werewolves outside their windows. Maybe my new classmates will like me after all, but who would ever like a boy with thick glasses? I mean, my dad used to wear glasses when he was little, and now he's married to the most beautiful woman on the planet, my mom. The house creaked, pressed by the wind. The condo we used to live in, a 9-floor concrete building, buzzed with the neighbor's drill, mumbled with a TV set from behind the wall, cried like a baby from the big family next door. Our current house, though I can't really call it new, was completely different. It was silent and easygoing during the day. Its shadows lay dormant in the corners, on the closet cobwebs, and under the stairs. But they all woke up during the night. Something was watching me from every corner, almost as if the old photos of my deceased family, with their ashen eyes, were hanging on the walls in place of my drawings. The floor was squeaking, rusty drains were moaning, the attic was occupied by noisy drafts. One could think the house was performing some sort of demonic melody. And then I realized I was, in fact, hearing music. It was already playing for a good while. Somewhere at the edge of my perception, I could hear a flute. It was mixed in with the sound of the wind, of the creaking old house, and my thoughts too. I stood up and rushed to the window. I wanted to reassure myself that this music was nothing more than a product of my imagination. It's not like someone is playing it there amidst the cold, snowy night, right? Right? Oh, interactivity. This game is beautiful. Ooh, that's even beautiful. That's even more beautiful. Someone was dancing in the field. Black silhouettes I could barely make out with the dark forest as their backdrop. They jumped around, basked in moonlight, bumped into piles of snow, rolled around and crawled on all fours. Stories about wolves playing under the moon came to mind, but these were clearly not wolves. They stood upright at times, circled around holding hands and whipped up snow, disappearing into the shadows for a brief moment and then coming back. Something bizarre was going on. Shadows dancing in the starless abyss made my imagination go wild, making me anxious at the same time. Jesus Christ. Suddenly the music had stopped. The dancing shadows froze in place and, I could swear, pierced me with their eyes. One of the silhouettes immediately parted from the bizarre shadow carnival and sprinted across the field with giant leaps. Oh. It glided on squeaky snow without leaving any prints until it was devoured by the pitch black shadow of my house, which became even darker and thicker. My heart was jumping around like the bird inside a cage. I shut the curtains with a swift motion and stepped back toward the bed. They saw me! They saw me! A freezing torrent of fear washed over me. I stood in the middle of a perfectly dark room and listened to some unwanted guest move and scrape around, looking for an entrance. The sound moved to the right. Then circled around the house. Now my guest should be at the front door. I jumped into bed and covered myself with the blanket as if it could protect me. The shackles of fear locked my muscles. I remember the funeral. My grandma lying there, hands crossed on her chest, her facial features sharp like that of a tin doll. Ants running up and down the legs of chairs that held my grandma's casket. Ew, ants, gross. I imagined those little critters climbing up her head and pulling up her eyelids with their tiny legs. Then her wrinkly eyeballs would once again move inside their sockets, and she'd be able to see her grandchildren. I was chanting the spell she taught me throughout the whole procedure, and now lying under the blanket and listening to squeaks and howls, I was repeating the same
На
words.
острове Буяне в синем океане стоит домовина, в ней сало и глина, волосы седые, чертям еда, раба Божьего Антона не тронут никогда.
On the island of Buyan, underneath the blemished sun, in the sea of color blue, stands a cabin made of wood. There lay a lord and ashen hair for the spawn from Devil's Lair, to feast and always leave alone God's faithful servant named Anton.
Бесы забудут дорогу к дому.
Evil leave this house must.
Мертвый к мертвому, живой к живому.
Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Bizarre sounds had disappeared. I cautiously peeked out from under the blanket and saw curtains waving around like a hanged man. And then the night doused me with a new portion of boiling terror. The sound scratched at my eardrums. In reality, something or someone was scratching at the front door, hurriedly clawing at wood, demanding to be let in. The door was shut. Dad had become very cautious recently, so he installed a sturdy lock. I remember him staring at the forest intently, as if he was looking for someone.
Мертвое к мертвому,
Ashes to ashes,
живой к живому.
dust to dust. I hugged my knees, placing my chin between them, and drilled the door with my eyes. It was so flimsy and weak before the might of darkness. And then the doorknob twitched slightly. Then it turned halfway, once, twice, as if the person who tried to enter had no hands. The doorknob tilted once more, and then started clicking violently. My jaw cramped from fear. My wet fingers clutched the blanket. The door creaked and opened. The wind taunted me, moaning inside the tin drains. Now you'll see. The door was wide open. The darkness writhed inside the carnivorous mouth of a doorway. It was as if the night itself was calling out to me, flapping its black wings and squeaking with rusty hinges. I was trembling, ensnared by the web of darkness that hung in the corners of my room, waiting for the one who weaved it to come out of the gaping black hole.
2, 9.
My abdomen tightened, pardon me, and my chest rose up, ready to exhale a desperate scream. Oh, pardon me. But before I was able to do anything, the darkness asked me,
Ты спишь тоже?
Tosha, you asleep? Oh, it's Olya. Ah, she's cute. My sister's pale face protruded from the thick shadows. I almost screamed from
Оля,
relief.
я не сплю. Что случилось?
Olya, I'm not sleeping. Did something happen? Olya frowned and struck out her lower lip, a clear sign that she was about to cry.
Оно опять прилетело и пялится на меня.
It's there again, staring at me.
Прогони ее, Тоша. Прогони, пожалуйста.
Shoo her away. Tosha, please.
Я так боюсь.
I'm so scared. The fear that was tormenting me just a minute ago crawled away and hid somewhere in my stomach. I needed to calm Olya
Это
down.
был сон, глупая. Не пугайся. Сны не кусаются. Никто тебя не обидит.
It was just a dream, silly. Don't be scared. Dreams don't bite. No one's going to harm you. Olya sobbed. She was trying her best to believe me. But was I sure myself?
У меня есть идея.
I have an idea.
Пойдем к тебе в комнату, видик посмотрим. Спящую красавицу, например.
Let's go to your room and watch the video. Sleeping Beauty, for example.
Тебе же нравится этот мультик?
You like that cartoon, don't you?
Почему у спящей красавицы принца у меня эта страшная птица?
Why does the Sleeping Beauty have a prince and I have a scary bird? That question took me by surprise.
Ладно, давай посмотрим Золушку.
Alright, let's watch Cinderella. My thoughts became entangled, fuzzy. What was that? What studied me with its eyes while dancing feverishly under the moon? The darkness was clinging to the window and it couldn't be fooled by Grandma's old chants. It couldn't be satisfied with a feast of lard and long ashen hair.
Тоша, ты идешь?
Tosha, you coming?
Да, сейчас.
Yes, yes, just a moment. Yeah. Jesus. I need some water. Yeah, that was something. That's why I didn't want to laugh at Olya and her owl in the morning. That got me fucking good. He would be visiting us here in the middle of nowhere. We don't know anyone around here. So persistent. I felt extremely unsettled just from a silly thought that our morning guests could have come from the woods. I could barely hear voices coming from the front door. My mind was urging me to hide. In the closet, under the table, behind the curtains where Olya always hides. Tosha, come here. I felt like kettlebells were tied to my feet, but still dragged them toward the hallway. A couple of policemen towered over me in the doorway. They smelled like frost and worry. My mom always winced and grumbled the moment she saw patrol cars, worse than bandits. At the moment, though, she looked somewhat confused.
Здравствуйте.
Hello. The senior officer, who wore a grim expression,
Тут
nodded.
мальчик вчера потерялся. Вовой зовут.
A boy had gone missing yesterday. His name's Volva.
Глянь, пожалуйста. Ты его не видел?
Look at this, please. Have you seen him? The policeman held out a photograph to me. There was a ginger boy around the age of elementary school, pictured with a wool carpet as the backdrop. He had a striped cat in his hands and wore a wide smile. Oh, that's so sad. No, I haven't.
Точно? Посмотри внимательнее.
Are you sure? Look closely.
Где мне его видеть? Я тут никого не знаю. Да и из дома-то почти не выхожу.
Where would I see him? I don't know anyone around here. I barely leave the house.
А может, видел в окно?
Well, maybe you've seen him from the window.
Да. У тебя ведь окна на лес.
That's right. Your windows look straight at the forest, don't they? The window.
Нет, не видел.
No, I haven't seen anything.
Ясно.
I see. He sounded tired, but his eyes, his stare, long and heavy, was full of suspicion. I squirmed unwittingly under the weight of guilt which his giant shadow cast over me. The policeman finally tore his eyes from me and glanced over the hallway, the stairway and the cracks in the ceiling, which I haven't noticed before for some
Вы,
reason.
кстати, как на новом месте? Попривыкли уже?
How do you like your new place, by the way? Getting used to it?
Понемногу. Только вот дочка маленькая по городу скучает.
Bit by bit. It's just our little daughter misses the city a lot.
Скучает, значит. Из местных вас никто не беспокоит?
Misses the city, huh? Have the locals been treating you well?
Все хорошо, спасибо.
Yes, everything is alright, thank you. The policeman pierced through me one more time with his brown eyes. My head started spinning.
Может, вам помочь как-то?
Can I help you somehow? I asked that in a shaky voice to look like a polite boy and to end his unpleasant conversation soon.
Я вот стою и думаю,
Now that I think about
ты,
it,
малец, на племеша моего похож.
you look just like one of my nephews, little fella.
Шустрый парнишка твоих лет, с такими же окулярами. Все книжками зачитывался, детективами.
He's a witty boy around your age, wears the same type of goggles, always engrossed in reading those mystery novels.
Когда летом погостить приезжал, говорит, что в школу милиции мечтает поступить.
Told me he wants to enroll in police school when his family visited this summer.
Как я. Хотел людям помогать. Смекаешь?
Wanted to help other people just like me, see? I felt uncomfortable, as if a distant relative and not a police officer stood before me.
Ох, ребятушки,
You know what?
сидите-ка вы лучше дома. Не ввязывайтесь ни во что. Жизнь сейчас совсем другая пошла.
Little boys like you should stay at home, steer away from trouble. The times have changed so much. Mom interjected in a cold voice.
Мне ли не знать?
You don't say.
Ну да ладно.
Ah, well then.
Ты, Антон, в каком классе учишься?
What grade are you in, Anton?
В 6-м.
6th.
Друзей-то на новом месте еще не завел?
Have you made any friends here so far?
Пока нет. Я только после каникул в школу пойду.
Not yet. I'll be going to school for the first time after the break.
Тогда вот вам на всякий случай мой номер. Звоните, если узнаете что.
Ah, then I'll leave you my number just in case. Call me if you have any new info. The policemen were gone along with their shadows, the smell of cheap cologne and the photo of a smiling boy. His face still stood before my eyes. I wondered what it was like for him being all alone there. For some reason I thought of the forest swaying in the wind. What did his poor parents feel? And what would my parents do if I'd gone missing? Would they cry and thrash around hysterically? Or would they accuse each other like they always do and forget about me eventually?
Мам, а Вова этот в нашем лесу заблудился?
Mom, this Vova, did he go missing in our forest?
Выходит, что так. Бедный ребенок.
Seems like it. Poor child. I looked out the window at the road. The police UAZ drove off toward the village. The officer's nephew came to mind when I was splitting off old paint from the windowsill. I remember all the teenage mystery novels from the Black Kitty series I've read this summer. Your average boys and girls investigated all sorts of mysteries there. They looked for clues, spied on suspicious people. After a set of amazing adventures, BAM! Solved any complicated case. They became local celebrities and must have made their parents very proud. I noticed a trail of policemen's footprints that led to the forest, and then it clicked in my head. Why don't I start an investigation of my own? Maybe I'll find that lost boy, and I'll get a reward. Oya will be so happy. And not only Oya, Mom and Dad too. Maybe they'll even forget about their quarrels for a while. Maybe I'll even save us from the D word. I fantasized about buying Olya a Tamagotchi and getting a cassette player and a bunch of tapes for myself, and a whole box of Kinder Surprise. When was the last time our parents bought us any toys? Last autumn, I think. My dad had lost his job at the time. There's that annoying song about it. I had little to no idea what was the accountant's job like. They count money, I think. Neighbors used to envy us. But nowadays, Mom and Dad barely had money to afford sweets, and Dad would always divide a single chocolate bar between me and Olya. Sometimes I gave her my share too. No matter how much I wanted to eat sweets, she was still just a pipsqueak. I couldn't wait to go out looking for clues.
Пойду погуляю.
I'm going outside.
Ага, сейчас.
Yeah, right.
Чтобы потом милиционеры с твоей фотографией по домам ходили.
You want the police to go around with your photograph next?
Лес вон какой густой.
The forest is so thick.
А если мальчика звери дикие утащили? Или того хуже?
What if the boy got snatched up by the wild animals? Or something even worse? Even worse, echoed through the hallway.
Да я рядом буду. В лес не пойду.
I won't go far. I'll stay away from the forest.
Что я тебе сказала? Мне дважды повторять.
Did you hear what I said? Or should I repeat myself?
Лучше портфель собери или соли поиграй.
Better go pack your school bag or play with Olya. The sound of splashing water came from the kitchen. It meant that the argument was over and Mom had the last word. Let's see what we can do here. Let's open this. The dark, stuffy closet. Mom says it smells like mice. But how will she know their smell? She hates when I stick my nose in there. She's afraid I'll cut myself on the freshly sharpened axe. And Olya can't even be lured close to it. She thinks Babai is living there. I tried to help her fight her fears once. I opened the door and turned on the dim lamp so she would see there was nothing but cobwebs, Dad's tools, and scratched walls. She still didn't believe me, and I liked to hide in the closet and listen to Olya count outside. 1, 2, 3, better hide from me. And then dragged her feet on the creaking floorboards, hoping that she wouldn't need to look for me in the cramped monster's den. To the kitchen! Lie to Mum? Oh, why would I? Open? Grandma kept ice cream for me and Olya there, but now I could only see meat bits for soup and clumped together pelmeni. I grew to hate them already. I guess we lied to Mum. It was difficult to lie to Mom, but there was no other way for me to run away from her.
Мам, там что-то с телевизором случилось.
Mom, something's wrong with the TV.
Картинка какая-то тусклая, и экран весь в полосах.
The picture is dim and there are stripes all over the screen. Mom's face became visibly distorted.
Без ножа меня режешь. Дострелялся в уток своих.
Ah, you're killing me here. So, have you had enough of shooting the stupid ducks now?
Говорила же, посадите мне кинескоп своей приставкой.
Told you the kind scope will go dumb because of your console.
Где мы теперь мастера найдем в дыре этой, а?
Where will we find a TV technician in this hole, huh?
Может быть, просто настройки сбились?
Maybe it's just the settings.
Сходи, посмотри, пожалуйста.
Please go see for yourself.
Нормально же работал с утра.
Strange, it worked fine in the morning.
Из-за снегопада, наверное, неполадки.
Maybe the snowfall caused it. Mom rubbed her hands clean of her apron and went to Olya's room. Oh, the front yard. I opened the front gate and went into the field, carefully so Mom wouldn't see me from the window. When I crossed half of the distance toward the forest, the snow piles became as high as my knees. I remembered my nightly fears. I saw the silhouettes around here. They were jumping around, holding hands. That hypnotizing music started playing in my head all on its own. In the light of day, those distant figures felt like a simple dream. The sun turned my nightmares to ash, but the aftertaste was still there, distant ringing in my ears, distorted shadows crawling on the snow alongside me, and a barely audible whisper in my head, blurry and almost kind. Everything was silent, so silent I felt like the world was totally empty. No ground, no sky, no parents, no Olya. The time reached its limit, a one-way trip that ended at the forest's piney stockade. Sometimes silence was much scarier than any scream. Our parents would scream at each other while arguing, and both me and Olya turned to stone listening to them. But then always came the ringing silence. Our apartment became numb a couple of days before we departed. It was hard to remember the last time Mom and Dad joked around, laughing, spent time together, almost like all of it was in a previous life. When they kissed with Olya present, she always frowned and snorted in a funny way. But one day, it all changed. Something important had left our house, and something scary filled the remaining void. It was as if a fire broke out and our parents were hurriedly packing our belongings, trying to save themselves and us. From who, though? From the people with dead cold eyes who sometimes visited us in our previous home? The eyes that only saw balls of worms on the black ground in everything. And somewhere far away a siren was going off, trying to warn us of the coming menace. I shuddered, chasing away my delusions, and looked around. There was only me, this white field, and the wind that was whipping up icy dust and belts of powdered snow. I squinted from the sun and turned my eyes to the sunless forest. It looked especially dark in contrast with the blinding whiteness. Knobby tree roots slithered under the snow like fat snakes. Rotten leaves and carnivorous needles froze into the ice. Dry, prickly branches intertwined, bringing up uncomfortable thoughts about fences. Were they protecting the forest? Or were they keeping something from breaking out? Some object was hanging from one of the pointy branches. I tried to get closer, drowning in snow. When I almost got to the edge of the forest, I saw a knitted mitten. knitted mitten. It looked like a wounded bird among the hungering semi-dark. Should I take it to the police? Their senior officer looked gloomy, but he still reminded me of Captain Casanova from my favorite TV show called Streets of Broken Lights. What's this? Babai, in Slavic folklore, a nocturnal spirit used by parents to threaten their ill-behaving children. UAZ, a Soviet and Russian off-road freight passenger car brand which was produced on the Ulyanovsk car factory. I'm sorry if I butchered that. Black Kitty, a series of contemporary Russian original or translated teen mystery books. Accountant, a song by an all-female Soviet pop band by the name Combination, that became widely popular in the early 90s. Pelmeni, a Russian variety of dumplings made by boiling thin, unleavened dough filled with mincemeat. One may even call it Russian fast food. Streets of Broken Lights, a Russian mystery TV series telling a story of the daily life of Russian police officers. It's the longest running series in the history of Russian television at the moment. Oh wow. He was also always anxious, with a tired look in his eyes, but still brave and strong. Will this mission help them find the lost boy? Vova! I heard a distant shout, looked like it came from the river. Vova! As if the trees were calling out to someone. Vova! Resounded closer to me. Someone was standing there behind the trees, hiding. Vova! I knew someone was looking for the lost boy, but still, something was unsettling about that figure. Its stillness, how it was bent unnaturally toward the ground, its blackness. There's no one there, just branches and roots. It's all just my imagination. A nearby bird flapped its wings loudly. Oh god. A shadow split from the tree and disappeared from my sight. I looked away for just a moment, but when I turned my gaze back to the same place, it was gone. So it was my imagination after all. Silence reigned for a painfully long time. Oh Jesus. Oh no. Oh no. My muscles were tightly sprung. My heart was beating somewhere in my throat. Any noise, any little movement, any small whisper from the thicket and I'd sprint. But nothing of the sort happened. I looked at the mitten once more. I'm going to take it. I decided to take the lonely mitten from the branch. Uh-oh. Vova! Oh shit. A shout rumbled across the field and dissolved into the distance. No echo, no hope for a reply. I stepped toward the bristly trees and tried to claim my find. I didn't budge. I pulled harder, the branch cracked and the mitten tore off, landing in my hand with a squishy sound. All too heavy, wet. I squeezed it without thinking and something dark spilled from it, forming a tiny string between the mitten and the snow. Steam rose from the snow pile. Oh Jesus. I froze in place, studying my palms in disgust. Red. The sound of cracking branches invaded the silence. I didn't have to think twice before running away. Someone was chasing me from the darkness, breaking pine branches, closing the distance with giant leaps. Snow was slowing me down. Crazy thoughts flew through my mind. I'll get caught. They'll get me. I'll get dragged into the thicket. I'll be gone forever. But there was one more voice, probably one of reason. It gave me strength, spurred me on. You can do it. Don't stop. I heard an animal roar behind me. It was so loud my ears went numb. It felt like the sound had come from a pack of hungry beasts rather than a single one. Their nostrils sucked in freezing air. They sensed my fear. Two giant wings flapped above my head. An enormous shadow flew over the clearing. A hoot, a wheeze. The roars were coming from all directions now. From the dried up raspberry bush, from the twisted pines, from under the windfall. Hurry, run, don't look back. I felt like I was inside a nightmare. The snowy clearing became vicious like quicksand. I was stuck in place. I pulled my leg from the mushy trap just to be caught in a new one, even deeper than before. I continued to drown, sinking deeper and deeper with every desperate push. Was snow ever this sticky? I screamed in horror after realizing this wasn't snow. Someone or something in the snow pile was clutching my pants. I gathered all my strength and pushed and rushed forward. The pressure on my leg was gone. My boots slipped out of the hole and my soles were on a hard surface again. I reached the clear path with one jump and from there ran to my house. Its gloomy facade didn't look threatening now. That house was my line of defense from the shadows that flattened their wings and the creatures that were hiding under the snow. I tripped over the doorstep and smashed into the door. In all my hurry, I still managed to notice the claw marks, as if a dog was striking the wood with its paws, demanding to be let in so it could escape the cold. I hadn't noticed these marks when I was leaving. The heartbeat in my ears was much louder than my surroundings. I couldn't hear whether someone was following me or not. What if They were already in our front yard and Mom had locked the door. Drowning in fear, I pulled on the doorknob and it immediately gave way. Home safely. I rolled into the hallway and shut the door behind me. Porch planks creaked as my pursuers ascended the stairs. My fingers slipped off the lock and I couldn't click it in place. I gritted my teeth and pulled hard on the iron knob, whipping it between the boards. I stared blankly at the door. Someone was standing on the other side of the pitiful, flimsy barrier that was probably less useful than blankets. Wheezing breaths reached into the house and crashed at me in waves. It smelled of pine and sweat. Mom peeked out of the kitchen and chastised me with the same frigid voice she always used when talking to Dad.
Что конкретно тебе не ясно в просьбе не хлопай дверьми?
What exactly didn't you understand when I told you to never slam the door?
Я случайно.
I didn't mean to. I snuck a glance at the door. The smell was gone, and the breath was too. If there was someone in the first place, of course. Here, mere 5 minutes away from Mom, my fear was slowly weakening, melting like snow in spring, and with it the last bit of strength I had left in my body too. My legs gave way. I propped myself up against the wall so I wouldn't fall over. Mom's expression had changed immediately. The cold mask of strictness and detachment was gone. Mom looked the same as before all those quarrels. She finally saw my condition, my wet pants plastered with
Ты где
snow.
был? Я тебе что говорила, а? Чтобы ты дома сидел.
Where have you been? What did I tell you, huh? I told you to stay home.
Я и для тебя пустое место.
Am I nothing to you too? I got afraid she would cry. I reached out to her like when I was little and wanted her to cuddle me. But Mom regained her composure fast and put on her usual face. Her eyes shined like steel. Her voice rang out.
У отца сигареты пропали.
Your dad can't find his cigarettes.
Признавайся, ты их
Be
стащил?
honest, did you snatch
Курить
them?
бегаешь?
Were you smoking in secret?
Там за мной кто-то гнался. Я думал, меня...
There was someone chasing me. I thought... I stuttered as soon as I started explaining myself. Tears welled up in my eyes. Mom leaned toward me and sniffed my clothes like a beast, searching for the smell of tobacco. Then she squinted her eyes in suspicion and looked into the front yard. Her expression changed in an instant and she covered her mouth with her hand.
Гляди, вон же они.
Look over there!
Прямо у забора.
At the fence! Oh no. My heart started thumping as if I became prey once again and my pursuers were following me in the field. I could swear that I've heard something scratch at the door, just like in my nightmare. Mom beckoned me with her finger and I gathered all my remaining bravery to look into the kitchen window facing with fear. I could barely discern some hairy silhouettes swimming in snow through the icy winter patterns on the glass. Dogs. Just a small pack of strays with no name and owner, barely reminding of the hungry monsters that live on the edge of the forest.
Божечки, ты их испугался?
Oh boy,
Да они
you were
сами
scared
тебя
of them?
перепугаются, Антон.
I thought they'd rather be scared of you, Anton.
Они гнались за мной, словно за зайцем.
They were chasing me, like a bunny.
А вдруг они бешеные?
And what if they're rabid? The smile had slowly disappeared from Mom's face. Now she looked at the dogs as if it was her first time seeing them.
Что если они нападут на Олю?
What if they attack Olya?
Мам,
Mom?
Вот бы твой отец их всех перестрелял.
I wish your dad
мама,
could just shoot them all.
они живые.
Mom, look, they're alive.
А что?
Huh? What?
Ты уж определись? Они тебе друзья или враги?
Are they your friend or foe after all? Make up your mind.
Не маленький ведь уже.
You're not a little kid anymore. Mom sighed in annoyance, and I felt so bitter that I bit my lower lip and fixed my gaze on the cobweb-ridden corner just to keep myself from crying. Well, some detective I am. In reality, I wasn't risking my life among monsters, but rather my pants among a pack of stupid strays. And what for? What use do I have for this? Mitten. Of course! A dark and sticky mitten that belonged to the lost boy made a squishy sound in my hand. Seems like I was clutching it the whole time. That's my trump card as a detective. I hurried to present this clue to my mom.
Мам, смотри, это Вовина варежка.
Oh, Jesus. Mom, look, Mom, look, this is Volva's mitten.
Ну того, про которого утром милиция спрашивала.
That boy the police was asking for about this morning.
Но вся в крови. На дереве висела. Вон там, могу показать.
It's drenched in blood. I found it hanging on a tree. I can show where.
Давай в милицию скорее позвоним, как нас участковый просил.
Let's call the police right away, like the officer had told us to.
Мам, гляди!
Mom, look.
Фу!
Ew. A shadow of doubt slowly crept onto Mom's contorted face, as if she was trying to remember something distant, like something tries to remember their dream, like someone tries to remember their dream, but the images slip away.
А ну-ка прекрати сейчас же.
Stop at this
Оля
moment.
тебя услышит, с ума сойдет.
Olya will go insane if she hears you.
Она и так не спит. На все подряд жалуется.
She already has trouble sleeping and whines all the time.
Еще и ты со своими шуточками.
And you joke around like this. At that moment, I realized the mitten was actually wet from snow. There was no blood whatsoever. I wanted to sink through the floor from embarrassment.
Иди сюда, паникер.
Come here, my boy, who cried wolf.
Да не стой столбом. Вот,
Oh, don't
таблетку на.
just
Быстро пей.
stand there. Come take your pills. A golden-colored pill reminiscent of a dead wasp fell onto my palm.
Я уже пил сегодня, за завтраком.
I took one during breakfast.
Попререкайся мне еще.
Don't talk over me.
Сказала дома
I told you to
сидеть. Нет
stay
же.
at home, and you,
Был бы отец, выпорол.
Dad wouldn't give you a good. Dad would have given you a good whipping for that.
Сейчас же выпей, а то ночью не уснешь. Тебе ведь в школу завтра.
Come on, take it, or you won't be able to sleep at night. And you have school tomorrow. So I had to swallow the bitter medicine, drinking it down with similarly awful water that gave off a taste of chlorine. Maybe it wasn't Volva's mitten. Maybe it wasn't a mitten at all. Just like the forest monsters. And Olya's owl. Am I going mad? Oh shit. What's happening to me? Either the pill had an immediate effect, or my overexerted brain didn't let fear inside anymore. Serenity washed over me, bringing yawny indifference along with it.
Антон, выпил?
Anton,
Можешь, если захочешь.
Anton, you done? See, you can do it when you try.
Раздевайся. Уснул, что ли?
Take off your coat. Are you asleep?
Нет, мам, просто задумался.
No, Mom, I was just thinking.
Интересно, о чем же?
What about, I wonder?
Так, глупости
It's
всякие.
just something silly. Mom scrutinized me with suspicious eyes, as if she wasn't sure she was looking at her own son and not some doppelganger that came from the forest.
Точно все нормально?
Is everything alright?
У тебя такое лицо было, когда милиционер про окно спросил.
You had the same exact expression when the policeman asked you about the
Все
window.
нормально, мам.
It's alright, Mom. She heaved a deep sigh.
Хорошо.
Fine. It seemed like the house had changed. The sofa's fabric had become discolored. Fingerprints appeared on the bathroom tiles. The light bulbs also felt different, dimmer and yellower. Even the saliva inside my mouth had a different taste. A melody from Aladdin could be heard from the upper floor. Olya was done rewatching her favorite Little Mermaid episodes and switched to other tapes. I slowly changed into my home clothes, stopped before the sink and studied my reflection in the mirror like I was trying to solve one of those spot the difference puzzles. Then I went upstairs. Jafar's and Lago's voices died down. I walked past Olya's bedroom and slipped into my own. What's this button do? The forest didn't look as grim during the day. Entangled tree branches in the distance and the snowy field between our house and the forest brought sleepiness into my eyes. But sometimes I would still catch myself looking in the window at the icy treetops inside instead of doing my own homework. I've dreamt of becoming an artist since Dad bought me my first comic book. Fly magazine was the coolest. I especially liked the big space-related edition with alien monsters and that funny episode about a Gendarme? Fly, the first Soviet and Russian periodic adult comics magazine, extremely popular during the crazy 90s. What made the magazine stand out was the refusal to use material from its foreign counterparts. Interesting. I started drawing all kinds of stuff since that day, and I seem to be getting pretty good at it. One of my letters even got published in Fly once. Maybe someday they'll even publish my comic. One of the drawers was empty. I hid the mitten in there. Where are you, Volva? Hey, I got an achievement. The simple action drained the last bit of strength from me. I sat on the bed, and only then I noticed there was someone behind the curtains. My tired hand dropped to the sheets. Whether it was due to medication I took or the stress I underwent, the room began to contort as if the wind was blowing the walls out like a pair of sails. The corners of the room bent and undulated. The only stable thing in the whole room was the figure between the windowsill and the curtains. A flimsy piece of cloth was stuck to my hidden visitor. It reminded me of burial sheets.
Оля,
Olya? Who else would be standing there? I stood up and licked my dry lips.
Оля, очень
Yeah,
смешно.
Olya, it's so funny. The silhouette was unmoving. It was enveloped slowly by the curtains, as if there was a thick layer of darkness there, not a human being. I reached towards the curtains. My heart, controlled by medication. The wind sang in the field with a chorus of voices. For a second, I wanted to return to bed, just lie down and watch the person behind the curtain, knowing full well they were looking back at me. They're looking without blinking, waiting for me to fall asleep. Plastic rings rustled against the holder when I pulled open the curtains.
Попался!
Your massapus. Gotcha! I'm just gonna save. There we go. Whoops. Gotcha! Alright guys, I'm going to stop the video here. I hope you enjoyed it. When we come back for part 2, we'll continue. But in the meantime, I hope you all have an amazing day today. Thank you for watching if you made it this far. Leave a thumbs up if you enjoyed and want to see more. And yeah, bye guys. Love you.
Bye-bye.